Hello, my name is Maddie, and I am currently on a journey to figure out the cheapest, easiest, and best ways to physically publish your comics. Whether it be online or through a company, I have been working with multiple different spaces to see what a good fit for you and your comics would be. I have physically printed my comics with about 4 different methods, the first being a company called Mixam, and I actually see them being used quite frequently with a lot of other artists. The second being Staples, the third being a local printing company, and the fourth being myself, along with putting my comic online with different spaces, but I have a more in-depth video about online publishing that I will put right here, as well as linking it in the description down below. Today will be more specifically targeted towards physical printing. So the first company I used was called Mixam, and I have used them about 3 times now, and I have some really mixed reviews about them. The first time I used them to print a small 31-page children's book called Ghostly, and this one actually turned out pretty neat. I didn't really have any issues with how the print turned out, and it was pretty cute and tiny, and I actually use those books still to this date as a low point of entry for people who want to buy my books, selling them for about $3 a pop. So, making them like a really cheap and easy way to get people to at least look at my art. Printing was pretty easy since there is only 31 pages I needed to worry about, and the entire first time I had used Mixam, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was pretty decent. That being said, when I went to print my 132-page graphic novel that was in full color, I had literally every and any issue with printing. Firstly, all of the pages needed to be PDFs, which was a fine enough issue to fix, especially since it was an issue on my part to begin with. Formatting correctly did take me 3 tries to do it correctly, but as soon as I finished switching the pages from PNGs to PDFs, more issues ensued, with the pages taking hours to load, and even after the site had loaded them in, it took a really huge amount of effort and time to move the pages to the correct order that they were supposed to be in because they hadn't been loaded in properly. And so even with the pages being labeled correctly on my side, the website wouldn't load them in the correct order, and I just remember it literally took me hours just for all of the files to be loaded in correctly because I would have to delete files, manually move them, delete other files, manually move them, and again, everything had been labeled properly on my side, and it took hours. It was a really long and tedious process. And I'm not sure if the website is actually built for books that are that large. And that's why it takes a super long time for everything, regardless. And that's kind of what I'm thinking is the reason that it just took a really long time for everything to get loaded in. It was obnoxious, to say the least. So usually people tend to go with an online printer because that's all there is, and the prices are pretty competitive to local printing. And I am all for cheaper alternatives, especially with artists, but because you go with an online option, most places aren't going to communicate with you, and you won't be able to get a test copy of your comic. And because of this, you are going to see an online PDF proof that the company puts together for you, but that is not always a guarantee that the end product is going to look like the proof that they sent you. And also, when I ordered my graphic novels, I was told the wait would be about a month, and it actually took closer to about 2.5 months. And when I got my copies, they were all damaged. Every single last book I had ordered was damaged. This was really frustrating for me since I had been publicly promoting my comic and teasing it with the intention to have a Valentine's Day release, which, since they had been sent to me late, I didn't even have a chance to send them back or do any type of damage control, so I really did end up losing money just because I wasn't able to release my comics. Needless to say, I was pretty pissed, but not as pissed as when I tried to talk to someone with the company. So I ordered glossy covers, and they did not show up glossy. They showed up, matte and scuffed and damaged. And secondly, all of the images were blurry. Actually, not all of them. Half the pages in each copy were clear and fine, and then the other half were blurry. So it really couldn't have been an issue on my end with sending incorrect files, since all of my files were the exact same. I had edited them 3 times to fit the criteria that the company had wanted. And with that, I had about 8 out of the 132 pages that bled to the edge of the book. So because of that, I needed bleed space. And I asked a lot of questions just to make sure that the bleed space would be cut and that nothing would look super ugly. And I was told that it would not be an issue. And it was an issue. They apparently weren't happy with the amount of bleed space that I gave them, so they decided to mirror the edges and cut them later. And this is actually a really common practice that a lot of printing companies use, so it's not like it's like out of the ordinary. But a lot of companies, you know, when they do this, they actually cut all of the mirrored space that they had intentionally added, and all of the pages didn't get cut properly. As the copies were, I couldn't sell them, not for the price I needed to be able to A, make my money back, as well as profit, as well as order another set of copies to continue to sell my comics. So I emailed the company and I told them that there was an issue with my order, and they emailed me back saying they needed pictures, which is, you know, normal. I can understand them wanting pictures. So I sent them pictures of multiple of the copies. I had ordered like 75, right? So I had a ton. And they said that the pictures weren't good enough and that they needed a video, which is fine, you know, whatever. And so I send them a video of like all of the copies, and I'm just flipping through and I'm like, yeah, like they're all really scuffed, they're all damaged, they were sent to me damaged, I don't know what we can do about this. And, you know, they told me that I didn't order the glossy covers and that I had also sent them the crappy files. To which I emailed them back saying I did in fact order them with glossy covers, and the online proof they had sent me was in fact not as blurry and crappy as what they sent me physically. They said to send them a copy of the receipt. So I send them a copy of the receipt, and they told me that they had sent me exactly what the receipt had said, but they weren't glossy. They weren't glossy, and because they weren't glossy, they got damaged. I don't understand what the problem was. Here's the thing. I don't tend to be a Karen very often. I really don't. I worked in McDonald's for like my first job, so I'm not gonna be an asshole, right? But I had spent a lot of money on this, right? I was a poor, broke artist, and I had spent a lot of money to be able to do this, and I wanted the product I had ordered. I really wanted to resolve the issue with the company. I really did. I wanted to either send the books back and get, you know, new ones that were better, but they said they didn't do that. So if that wasn't an option, I wanted to get my money back so I could reorder the books the way I needed them, because if it was an issue on my end, I could fix it, but I didn't have another $200 to be able to do that. But they also did not want to do that, and so after an obnoxious game of email tag, I decided to try and get my money back through my bank. And so I filed a dispute with them. I told them I didn't get the correct product that I ordered, that it was damaged, and that the company would like not work with me anymore. I sent pictures to the bank, and I did get my money back. It was $200, guys. I can't just throw away that kind of money on product I genuinely can't use. I don't think any of us can throw away $200 on product we can't use. And that was back in late 2021, early 2022. And I actually revisited their site a few months ago just out of curiosity, because I am genuinely the only one who has had a negative experience with this company. And I retried printing another children's book called Critter Cove I had written with my friend, and at this time they had redone their website and they had added some options for hardcover printing. I just think they are best suited for very small like children's books and art that isn't as detailed as what a graphic novel would be, at least not a colored graphic novel. And you know, the copies turned out fine. It wasn't enough to wow me to start working with them again, and you know, as soon as I have more money, I am planning on just going with a different company, because Mixam was a hassle to work with, and while they might be the cheapest alternative, there's a reason they're the cheapest. The next company I worked with was Staples, and I had actually genuinely forgotten I had worked with Staples until I was writing the script, and if that doesn't show how much that they just don't stick out to me, I don't know what does. I used them to print another children's book I had written called Goodnight Elvis, and I wasn't super impressed with the quality of book I got back. The the cover was creased really roughly. It was a little weird looking, you know, I wasn't super happy with it, but it was very cheap. It was like $1.40 for an 8-page book that was in color, which you really can't beat. My only issue is they don't score the spine so that when it bends, it cracks and it just looks really tacky and not very well made. I have a lot less to say since nothing like really stuck out to me. You know, the print was fine and the shipping time was fine, but you know, the crease really does bother me. And you do have to abide by a certain book size that they have preset, which some people really don't care about, but that really doesn't work for me personally because they only have like 6 options. Would I use staples again? Probably not, unless I was in like a huge bind and I needed the cheapest books I could find fast. The next company I tried is a local company, which I'm 90% certain you can find one of the same type in your hometown. I've been working on printing my comic Puppy Love, and printing locally has just been so much more easier and helpful than anything else because I can go in and I can talk to someone every time there's an issue and things can get resolved a lot faster, and I don't have to pay for the products until they are 100% complete and to my satisfaction. And here, as well as with every other company, they have wanted all of the files in PDF formats, but here they also wanted me to make sure the files were being saved the same size they were going to be printed in. And so basically what I had to do is I had to just change the conversion rate from like pixels to inches, and I just had to make sure they were going to be printed as like a 6-inch by 7-inch type of book. And I think that could have been an issue with Mixam if I hadn't saved my files like that. So even if my issues with other companies were because of this, the local company was the very first place that had actually told me so. And so basically, like I said, when you're saving your files, just make sure they're being saved in an inch ratio that they are going to be printed in. That might be something to just keep in mind when you're saving your own files, and I guarantee you it's gonna make things way simpler for you. Local companies are also most likely going to give you test prints to see if things are good enough before printing the rest of your bulk order. And my first test print of Puppy Love Part 1 was actually really good looking, except for the pages were out of order, and that's something we can fortunately fix before it becomes an issue. Supporting local companies is always nice, but this is a slightly more expensive option I have used out of all of the companies. I think after ordering 70 copies of 24-page books, it comes out to be around $360. And really, if you want to pay a large amount and be more hands-on with the process and get things the way you want them done, I personally don't think it's too bad of a deal. But I do have one more option that is a very cheap alternative for you. The last printing option I tried is self-printing. It's a very hands-on and cheap alternative to everything else I've mentioned, and again, you get to have everything done by you and to your standard. I've self-printed Puppy Love and it's been pretty easy. The only issue is with formatting the pages to be printed like a comic, and you can't just print the pages in order because then when you staple them and then fold them together, they're no longer going to be in that correct order. So my best tip is making a little miniature of the book you're going to be printing and then labeling the pages so that when you format the pages, you can pull them apart and you can see, oh, page 1 should actually be next to page 21. And self-printing is a really nice option if you're looking to save on costs as well as end up with a product you like. The math I had done for thicker paper and lamination for 60 copies of Puppy Love would have been around $150, which isn't bad. You will need a heavy-duty stapler though, and the thicker your paper is, the more pricey the staplers get. You know, you can find a $10 stapler that says it'll print 50 pages, but I don't trust them anymore because I got the stapler, then it didn't print, and you know, if that becomes an issue, you just take all your copies to Staples like I had, and then you can staple them there for free. If I had to rank the different options, I would definitely go with a local company first for easy and less stress and hassle. Then I would self-print my comics from home for the good price and hands-on and ease. And then, honestly, depending on the thickness and specific type of book you want, I don't really care for Staples or Mixam, and I think I would rank them about the same. And that is just my experience with printing my comics, and I really hope you all found this information at least a little helpful. I just want to help other artists as much as I possibly can because this information isn't really out there, and it's frustrating when you're trying to figure it out for yourself. So I hope I was able to give you any type of information that you at least needed. Also, feel free to ask me any questions you still might have, and I will do my very best to answer you back in the comment section down below. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed my video. If you want to see any of my comics for free, check out my website, mattybites.com. There you can get website exclusive updates on future videos, comic plans, and so much more. There, of course, are all the comics I have worked on except for a few shop exclusive comics, Puppy Love. Check out my personal favorite, Saltwater and Taffy. And if you want to support an artist a step further, you can take a look at my shop where you'll find handmade goods by me and my friend, as well as my comic Puppy Love parts 1 through 3. I hope you all have a great day, and thank you so much again for watching.